For generations, the University of La Verne has been well known for producing the best teachers in California. As time went on, we added master's degree programs and eventually a doctorate in educational management. And we are best known in California for training superintendents and assistant superintendents. We're second only to USC in the number of superintendents in California who hold a degree. They hold a University of La Verne doctorate. Those programs developed in different parts of the university. And as I looked ahead at the need for teachers and educational administrators in this state, it became apparent to me that La Verne could be a major player in training people for those positions. It seemed a little awkward to have them in different parts of the institution, and it seemed there could be a synergy and a strength by joining them together under a single umbrella. And that's when we started talking about forming a school of education, one of the best schools of education in the state of California. So we brought those disparate parts together under the leadership of a single dean, and I think it's paid off well for the university. It's predicted that over the next 20 or 30 years, we're going to need thousands and thousands of school teachers in the state of California. And as I look at the strength of this country that we live in, it's really based on having an educated population. If you look at the growth of the population of California, and you look at the growing diversity of our state, it's education that will level the playing field and bring all of those people together to work for the good of society. So there's really nothing more important than having the best trained teachers and administrators for our public schools. La Verne has done that for generations. My dream is that the School of Education at the University of La Verne will be thought of whenever people talk about quality training of teachers and administrators in the state of California. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the President's Dinner 2002. The University of La Verne was founded in 1891 in an old hotel in Lordsburg, California. It was really founded as Lordsburg College. In 1917, it changed its name to La Verne College after the death of the founder of Lordsburg, Colonel I.W. Lord. We became the University of La Verne in 1977. We've changed a lot over the years. We've grown from a little self-contained campus in downtown La Verne to a large-size university serving more than 7,000 students, all...
Okay, and we'll pick it up.
Got it.
Do you need a drink?
Nope.
Yeah, okay, right, just a good break and picking up right there.
Throughout the state of California?
No.
Oh.
No, you have to start over.
Oh, you want me to start all over?
No, not all over, just from that part we've grown.
Oh, okay. Over the years, we've grown from a small, self-contained liberal arts college in downtown La Verne to a mid-sized university serving more than 7,000 students throughout the state of California, in Alaska, and in Athens, Greece. Over the years, we've added graduate programs at the master's level and the doctoral level. And today we have a law school in the city of Ontario, a new addition to the campus of the University of La Verne. Over the years, our student body has grown dramatically. Our faculty has grown, our budget has grown, and even our endowment has grown. But some values have remained the same. The importance of small classes, the importance of student-faculty relationships inside and outside the classroom, the values that we place on human interaction and the value of the human being, the values that we place on community service and service to profession. Those are hallmarks of our institution. And today we're one of the most diverse campuses in Southern California. Those values have been important to the University of La Verne for more than 110 years. We're proud of those values, they serve our students well, and our students serve society well. Leading the University of La Verne throughout the decades have been members of our Board of Trustees. It's the Board of Trustees who bring continuity to the values of an institution. It's the Board of Trustees who oversee the development of the university. We've been fortunate to have a particularly talented leader and tonight we honor that leader, the chairman of the board, Ben Harris. I had the privilege of knowing C.D. Harris and working with him on the Board of Trustees in my early days on the staff at the University of La Verne. C.D. used to tell me about these two nephews he had, Ben and Bill Harris, and he said he certainly hoped that someday they would get involved at the University of La Verne. C.D. had been on the board for a number of years through the presidency of Harold Fosnot and then into the presidency of Armand Serafian. When he decided it was time to retire, he recruited his nephews to come on to the La Verne Board of Trustees at a time when we were having very difficult.
Fine. Okay, stop and say, he recruited.
Okay.
Breath now.
Okay. He recruited his nephews, Ben and Bill Harris, to the Board of Trustees. They came on at a very difficult time for the University of La Verne. Finances were tough. We had a lot of deferred maintenance. It was time to rejuvenate the Board of Trustees and the campus of the University of La Verne. Ben and Bill both had a real commitment to rebuilding this institution, to keeping the traditions that were important to them alive and well and carrying them well into the next century. So Ben and Bill took leadership roles immediately. They gave generously of a piece of land. On that land now stands the Oaks, the new residence hall for this institution. They really took the first step to build the new campus for the University of La Verne, a campus that would serve us for that next 100 years. Shortly after I arrived at La Verne as president, Ben Harris became chairman of the board and served 6 years in that leadership position. Then Jim Long served as the chairman of the board, and as Jim's term came to an end, I looked carefully at the Board of Trustees and talked with other members of the board about who should be the next chair of this group. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us. We have terrific momentum. Who can really lead us in this new century? All eyes turned to Ben Harris. I was delighted when he re-upped for another term as chairman of the Board of Trustees. Ben, to me, is really the quintessential chairman of the board. He's been very successful in his own business. He brings leadership skills that are natural to the Board of Trustees. Ben's a good counselor. He listens carefully. He's a good sounding board for me. He has a real interest in the University of La Verne. He gives a lot of time. He and Barbara both make themselves available for many university events. He's solid as a rock, and he's the kind of person you can rely on day in and day out in good times and in bad. Just the right person for the job. Just with his own wide variety of business activities, Ben Harris had a full plate. Yet he accepted the chairmanship role for our Board of Trustees. And it's not just Ben Harris alone. It's been a family affair for the Harrises. His brother Bill served on the Board of Trustees for a number of years. Bill's wife Harriet has been involved with the University of La Verne. And of course, Barbara Harris has attended many, many university events. She's always present, and she's supported Ben. I look at Ben and Barbara as a team, a very effective team. Their children have also been involved as students, and I see them at many of our events as well. So we're delighted to have the entire Harris family involved in the life of our institution. I think one of the things that appeals to me most about Ben Harris is that he's a man of vision, and much like Steve Morgan, I think, he's never satisfied. He always wants us to move to new levels of excellence. He pushes in a very nice way, but you can always feel the pressure. Ben is putting in places now with other members of the Board of Trustees the future plans for this institution. Not 5-year plans or 10-year plans, but plans that will take us well into the midpoint of this century and beyond. He really knows how to put the building blocks in place, and I'm confident that with his leadership and the support of the other trustees, this university will be an exemplary institution for all of this century.
Pause. I'm confident.
I'm confident that Ben's leadership with our trustees, with their participation, will put the pieces in place to be an exemplary institution in the state of California. September 11 is one of those days that we'll never forget. It's one of those days like the day you heard that John F. Kennedy had been assassinated. You'll always remember where you were and what you were doing when you first realized what was happening to our country. I think what's been most inspiring for me out of all of this has been the way our University of La Verne community has come together in mutual support and conversation about the events of that day and the events that have followed. Not everyone agrees on our campus, but we've had this opportunity to bring divergent ideas together, to discuss different views on what's happening in the world today and what should happen in the future. We have this marvelously diverse community. We're diverse socially, culturally, religiously, and from an experience standpoint. We bring all that together in a learning community, and this has truly been an opportunity for us to learn together, to experience this together, to work through it together. I'm extremely proud of how we have responded. I think that the events of September 11 have caused all of us to reflect on how fragile our lives are and how quickly and dramatically they can change. And I think it causes all of us to prioritize what's important to us. How do we want to spend our time? And have we told the people who matter to us that they really matter to us? I see people demonstrating that now on a more regular basis. And if any good comes out of horrible tragedies such as this one, it's a chance for us to have another chance and to think about how we want to spend the rest of our lives, how we can be constructive, how we can join together as a society to try to make the world a little better place in which to live.
Steve, how has this challenged teachers and the teachers we train, do you believe?
Oh, I think in the short term, it's challenged teachers to seize the teachable moment and use it to the fullest degree possible, so that they can help their students process what's happening and to pick out a frame in their mind that will help them categorize the events of that day and subsequent events. In the long term, I think it's changed all of us. We'll never be quite as free as we once were to just jump on an airplane and fly to a destination, to go into a tall building and not have some thought about the tragedies of September 11. I think it's important for us to put this in perspective as an historical event. It's important for us to look at how it affects society and how in the future we might be able to take steps that would prevent this kind of thing from happening. How can we better relate as people who come out of these very diverse backgrounds? This area of La Verne was once one of the citrus-growing capitals of the world. And for those of us who have been around the area for a good many years, we remember the beauty of the groves. We remember smelling the blossoms in the spring, harvesting of the fruit in the fall. And pieces of that harvest were to bring all of that fruit down to a packing house, to put it in boxes, and people worked in rows with conveyor belts and put the fruit in the boxes and then loaded it on the trains. There's a packing house that now has become a part of our campus. It's right on the railroad tracks. It used to be the Lemon Packing House here in La Verne, and now it's the Communications and Art Building for the University of La Verne. A marvelous facility. Again, we've given an old building a new life, and it's got this perfect northern exposure, lots of glass for the art department. And then down in our lower level, we've constructed studios and office space for our communications program. Again, a great example of how old buildings can be recycled and given new life. One of the things I really admire is creativity, and I see it in the way the architects have transformed both the Hoover Building and the Communications Art Building. I like to think I have an imagination, but I could never have imagined the marvelous job they did taking what was good about the buildings and improving on that and making them even better. Taking what was good for a lemon packing house and using that to make a great art studio. That takes a lot of creativity, and I have a lot of admiration for the architects and the builders. And I thank those teams for working these transformations on our campus.